welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that hasn't been this excited for pool play since the last time I was at a really nice hotel. WBC coming up, and we're going to talk about it on our show today. So we've been doing our division previews. If you have missed the ones that we've done so far, go back and check them out. NL East, AL East are in the books. Go check those out. We are taking a break from that this week because before the next time that we record, the World Baseball Classic will start, and we are going to preview that tournament, at least the pool round of the tournament, because that's going to be pretty much, almost completed by the time that we record next. So we're looking forward to doing that. So that's going to take up most of our show today is WBC talk. I'm Dallas, that's Drew, and that's Matt. And first, we are going to talk about a couple of just, little MLB quick hits on our MLB episode this week. A couple of things to discuss here. First up, though, is Jazz Chisholm kind of made some headlines this week. It's the beginning of spring training. Players are getting that mic in their face again after a long off season of being able to keep to themselves. And some of them are saying some things about what they think about their careers, their futures, where they're at right now. And Jazz Chisholm made some comments this week that have gotten some attention on what kind of a contract he is expecting for himself. And so the videos out there are Jazz Chisholm seeking a 8 to 10 year deal worth about $35 million per year. So, wanted to talk about that for a little bit. Is he out of his mind, or is this pretty feasible considering where MLB contracts are at now?
Yeah, I can answer that for you. He is completely out of his mind, especially given where MLB contracts are at now. Like, I understand there are guys who have had these 10-year, $300 million plus deals. We saw Juan Soto, we saw Shohei Ohtani. But we've also seen the absolute cream of the free agency crop have to settle for these, granted huge AAV, but short-term deals. Kyle Tucker signs a 4-year deal with the Dodgers that he can opt out after 2 and 3 years. And then Bo Bichette just signed, one of those 3-year with opt-outs deals with the Mets, and that is most likely a 1-year deal. And those are two guys who are coming into free agency at the same basic age as Jazz Chisholm will be in a year and have much better track records. I mean, Kyle Tucker especially, Bo Bichette, maybe comparable track records, but I think Bo Bichette has been a more reliable bat over the last 5 years or so than Jazz Chisholm has been. And I think he's a Yankee Stadium merchant. Like, I don't think he's a bad player. He went 30-30 last year. He puts up good numbers, but you can tell it's clearly been a step up for him joining the Yankees. And I don't think it's all culture and competitiveness and all that. I think the short porch helps him a lot for the type of hitter he is. And I don't know, he's not an all-world defender or anything. I just don't foresee him getting anywhere close to this amount of money.
Yeah, and it seems as a whole, even outside of the deal he's seeking, just some of the stuff he's saying feels like he is just kind of talking out of his ass a little bit. He's talking about the fact that this year he thinks he's going to be the next 50-50 season, and he just believes that and granted, you want athletes who are confident in themselves, right? You don't want a guy to come out and be like, I could just never do that. I can never be that good. And, man, it's a bummer. That would also kind of piss me off if I was a, fan of whatever team he's on. And so you want them to be confident, but for sure he's talking out of his ass. He's a fine player. By all means, he is an above average to pretty good player. And he's just not, in my opinion, anywhere close to the elite tier and upper echelon of players in this league. And so for him to be yeah, I want one of these deals that's going to be top of market, bummer, dude. Also, to my knowledge, he's not had the best injury history. And I'm what team is going to want to commit long-term dollars to a guy who you don't know necessarily what position he's going to play, necessarily how many games he's going to play, Uh, just a super streaky guy. I mean, if he was consistently playing like he does when he's at his peak, sure, maybe we could be having this conversation, and maybe we do in a few years. But that contract is not happening this year, especially with a lockout on the way.
Hmm.
Yep, doesn't not play a factor, right? In how you think about this kind of stuff. And when it comes to, the term of the deal, the term length of the deal, I thought to me that was even more unlikely than the price, even a little bit. Like the length of the deal he
Hmm.
was looking at it seemed to be the more ridiculous part to me.
Yeah,
Even
I
even so.
honestly could see him getting $35 million a year over the course of like 3 or 4 years. But yeah, absolutely not for 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, this is like, I hate to, you know, uh, maybe jinx isn't the right word, but I hate to speak against the idea of an 8 to 10 year deal being signed in this day and age for a player like that. While Artie Moreno lives and breathes, right? But even so, I think I think that sounded kind of crazy to me. So, the other question I had here was, would you be happy if your favorite team did that? Which I think we all kind of have answered already. And that's kind of just in a vacuum, like you're a fan of a team, not necessarily the Red Sox or the Padres or the Angels, but just in a vacuum. But I think we all pretty much answered that. It's like, hey, how long? Why? Kind of
I
thing.
think it also like depends on the context though, right? Like if he's the type of player, like imagine if you were on the Marlins still. Like I think the Marlins would be ecstatic to be able to lock him up. And granted, they're the ones that traded him. But I'm like, if he was on a lower end team, like he definitely raises the ceiling of a team. If he's on like a bad team. I just also think he's not like the guy, but like if you were a team that has been struggling and you needed to bring in a guy that was going to bring in some juice and kind of like change a culture, I could see this being a positive. Like in a vacuum for any of our teams, well, I won't say any, but like for in a vacuum for the Padres and the Red Sox, no, like he's not necessary. He's not going to really move the needle in any significant way that's worth not in a 35 million a year kind of way. Um,
Hmm.
but I definitely could see the value being there for one of the like more bottom feeder teams. Like I imagine a team that was trying to spend money and could still use some more something. Think if he signed with the Pirates. I mean, I think 35 million for a decent deal could be kind of game changing for a team like the Pirates. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I think the context does matter a little bit. I don't think he's gonna get it, but like I think there's teams that could benefit from the deal still.
Yeah, for sure. And so, we'll see how his season shakes out. Maybe by the end of the season, we're singing a different song. Who knows? But right now, it just seemed like one of the more outlandish things some of the players have said in these first days of spring training here. And so, look, speaking of spring training, it's begun, and along with spring training beginning comes news that you don't like to hear. And players get out there for the first time. They get a feel for where they're at in terms of how ready they are for the season to start. And you get some bad news from some guys. And we've gotten some bad news about a couple guys in the last week or so. One guy who we'll talk about later in our WBC section, and one guy we'll talk about now, which is Pablo Lopez over in Minnesota playing for the Twins. He's got to have Tommy John for this year, and so he will miss this entire season. And so, he's someone that the Twins brought in a couple years ago to kind of boost their rotation, and he was definitely expected to be a feature of it this year as well. And now he will just miss the whole year, and it's super, super bummer. But how does this impact how we see the Twins rotation as it stands right now? This Pablo Lopez injury.
I mean, it's definitely a big loss for the Twins. Their rotation was kind of like the only thing you could really squint at and give you a lot of hope for this team. There's some decent hitters, of course, but like this is a team that sold off pretty much everyone at the deadline last year. There's only a few guys remaining, and Lopez was one of those guys, and you can, hindsight's 2020. Maybe they should have looked harder into trading him. We'll see what this means for, how they forecast this 2026 now. But I don't know, man. The Twins, like, they're we're going to talk about them more in a future episode. We'll have, the AL Central, but that just seemed like to me the nail in the coffin, of even if you had like any hope of them competing this year, it would have been on the backs of Jorge Lopez and Joe Ryan, um, and maybe these back end guys taking a step forward. Right now, the lineup's a lot of guys you might not know. There's some young guys with potential, but like even their young guys aren't like crazy young. It's not like for a team that just sold off everyone. It's not like now they have a youth movement or anything. Um, Seems like a lot of guys they've been kind of counting on for a few years who haven't totally taken that leap yet. We'll see. I mean, this is going to be, I think, not a very good team this year, and I think that Lopez injury really sealed it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, this was a team that sold at the trade deadline, and they kind of sold for a reason, and it's because it just felt like the team as it was built wasn't working. And they have a lot of really talented guys, and they're a classic like what if team, right? Of like what if they could have stayed healthy, but they just have a bunch of dudes that can't really stay on the field, and they basically never played at the time with their big three all on the field. Um, and then they ended up trading, Carlos Correa and stuff. So yeah, losing your ace on a team that's coming off an off season where they were sellers and has been an off season where they haven't really been buyers either. Like they haven't done much to replace what they sold off. It would take a lot of prospect breakouts for me to be optimistic about their outlook at this point.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think this is just, yeah, just one of those very sort of devastating spring trainings. It seems like every year one team has one, where it's just the dominoes start to fall, and maybe it's a team that didn't have very many dominoes to begin with, and the couple that you hang your hat on just start to not work out as well. And so it seems like that's where things are going for the Twins. Now we'll see how everyone steps up and steps in. But I think for now, it can be a little tough to see, how the Twins will compete this year for sure in their own division after losing someone like that.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, for it to happen so early, it's just brutal. I mean, I guess at least you go into the season knowing what the situation is, but it's just like, dang, I wish we could have seen at least one little
Yeah.
bit of it. But yeah, so best to Pablo Lopez, best to the Twins. We'll talk more about the Twins in our, like Drew was talking about, in our AL Central preview episode coming up soon here. But let's talk about now our main subject of our show today. We'll spend the rest of our time in sort of a World Baseball Classic preview. So. All the teams, as of the time that we record, are, they're on their way to their respective, countries where they'll be playing their pool rounds. They are getting ready to go. The first game is, I think, the 5th of March. So that's like next week. I think that starts next week. So it's upon us. And so we decided to take this week's show to preview the tournament, talk about, some of the teams that might be coming out of pool play into the quarterfinals. We're going to predict which teams will come out of pool play to the quarterfinals. And then we'll also just talk a little bit about some headlines that have come out in the last week or so that have kind of maybe changed a little bit of what we think about specifically Team USA, because all the headlines really that have come out over the last week or so have been about Team USA. So let's start there. So first up, we now know that Tarek Skubal, whose commitment to this team was kind of a surprise and was sort of, much celebrated. He is actually only expected to make one appearance for Team USA prior to rejoining the Tigers for spring training, and it will likely be in the pool play round. So, the fantasies of sort of Skubal coming out to face, someone like Japan or Dominican Republic in the championship round. Those kind of can get put to rest now. He said he might come back to watch and be in the dugout and, spectate a championship appearance if USA makes it that far, but he will not be playing in it. So, look, were you disappointed when you heard this? Was it kind of something that you had in the back of your head as a possibility, but you didn't want to believe it? Where were you at when you heard this?
It's super disappointing. In retrospect, I probably should have seen it coming, but I just didn't for what, it just wasn't on my mind. Like, oh yeah, they'll play, but they won't really play. I kind of thought the vibe was they were all signing up to be the super team, and run the whole tournament. But in a way, it's like I guess it's to be expected. But yeah, it's disappointing. It's like, well, why hype us up like that? And we'll see, if anyone else is going to be on that sort of limitation. It's still, even if you don't factor him in, which you should, because that's a game that he's pitching. Like that's a game you'll have Tarek Skubal, but um, it's still the best Team USA pitching staff that we've seen. So like even if like all these starting pitchers go one game each, it's still probably as a whole better than what we've gotten in the past. Like we had like Marcus Stroman back in 2017 who did well, but he wasn't like the big best pitcher in baseball at that time. So you still have Paul Skeens, you still have Logan Webb, you still have Joe Ryan, you have Nolan McLean, you got Matthew Boyd, you got Clayton Kershaw. If we'll see what he does. But the main thing that I think disappoints me is that if we're getting only one Tarek Skubal game, it sucks that it's in the first round where pitchers are going to be limited to 65 pitches. So we're going to get like, he could be rolling and that could be 6 innings for him, but it's, I think, Great Britain. So, there's a possibility. But at the same time, that could be 4 innings, and then that's all we get for Tarek Skubal in this tournament, which that sucks.
Yeah, I think, I don't have I've been a fan for exactly one World Baseball Classic so far in my lifetime. So I haven't been following it too long, so I don't know the culture of like guys playing versus not playing versus only playing like a little bit. It's still kind of new to me, but I'm disappointed. I mean, it seemed like all these star players were committing and they really wanted to make a super team to try and, go out and in theory challenge Team Japan, which I assume is going to be another super team. And it's a bummer. And I know there's like all the data out there that shows like how detrimental it can be to pitchers in specific who go to the WBC and like the impact it has on their season. But it still is just a bummer to be like, okay, so like we don't even get to be disappointed that like, oh, he opted out after his game. It's like we just go in already pre-disappointed. And to me, that's kind of a bummer because now it's like even watching the like 4 innings or whatever he said he's gonna do, I'm gonna be like, man, but like this experience is now tainted. I would have rather him said it after the game.
Yeah. Although, like, in his defense, he's going into his last year before free agency, and I don't blame
Totally.
him for not wanting to
No.
do anything to jeopardize that. And hey, I'll take it. If it's 4 innings from Tarek Skubal, that's better than 0 innings from Tarek Skubal. So
Yeah, I will never blame a player for not doing an optional thing, especially when it does like require full exertion and actual play. Like, you would never see a football player really opt in for that. Really curious how that's going to play out in the Olympics, but like I'll never blame a player for not doing it, but at the same time, it's disappointing when he did say he was in.
Yeah. Yeah, no getting around it. You understand why. Although it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, you still have some risk of injury anyway, so you might as well, I don't know, yeah, but how much risk you want is all up to you. And so, yeah, you totally get it. But, when you have in your head like this image of what could be, when it comes to what actually is in the end, at the end of the day, it can be a little disappointing. But okay, so a couple other pitchers here. We have Paul Skeens and Logan Webb also in the sort of starting rotation for Team USA, and they've said they'll make 2 starts each. And so, if USA makes it to the quarterfinals, I want to lay out a situation for you. So, assuming that Paul Skeens and Logan Webb both pitch in pool play at some point, if USA makes it to the quarterfinals and they each have one start left, who would you pitch in the quarterfinals and who would you save for a potential semifinals? So you think about WBC and the whole idea is it's game seven every game, right? Kind of a situation. And so is that your mentality? You throwing your best guy out there, or are you saying we can get past these guys? Let's save our better guy for later. Is it not that true game seven mentality?
Well, I need to see exactly how the bracket would play out because it kind of depends on who the opponent is in those
Mm-hmm.
matchups. Because there are teams on different levels in this tournament, and there's going to be a team or two that get to that quarterfinal or to that semifinal even who are not at the same level. We saw it last time in 2023. It was USA Venezuela in the quarterfinals, and it was like a pretty epic game. And Trey Turner hit that grand slam late, and it was really exciting. And then we ended up playing Cuba in the semifinal, and it was a laugher. It wasn't close at all. And so like that kind of thing can happen. I'd rather have Skeens for the better team, better opponent. But at the same time, like I said in the last little segment, this is the best Team USA pitching staff we've ever seen. If it's Logan Webb out there, that's the best pitcher we've had in these games. If it's Paul Skeens, it's the best pitcher
Yeah.
we've had in these games. If it's Joe Ryan, it's the best pitcher we've had in these games, I think. So um, I feel like I like their chances in any way, but however it plays out, it would be great to see Paul Skeens versus like, you know, if it's Team Japan and it's Sasaki or someone like that. He's playing, right? I can't remember which Japanese guys opted in and which ones opted out, but um, that would be sick. If it was Team Dominican and we got like Sandy Alcantara versus Paul Skeens, that would be awesome. Like so, however that plays out, it would be awesome for Skeens to be in the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. Like, I think if Team USA is trying to win, I think they probably just stick to whatever schedule they set is best for their pitchers ahead of time. But obviously, there's showmanship to the WBC. Like Shohei closing a game to strike out Mike Trout. There's showmanship that goes into a game. And so, like, for sure, I think if you get the chance to have like the best of the best against the best of the best, I don't see Sasaki on the Japanese pitching staff, but like, we still got guys
Yamamoto's
like
there, yeah.
Yamamoto's on there, and it's like, man, dude, Paul Skeens versus Yamamoto in a game seven type scenario, like that's electric. Like that is
Mhm.
that is as good as it gets. So I definitely think like I don't know, it's WBC, man. Have fun with it. Make it exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, so just put the names out there when you got them. I think that's good. And so, look, another pitching question here. So Joe Ryan, as we know, this is part of that disappointing spring training, right, that we talked about earlier. But he was pulled from his spring training start, his scheduled spring training start, with some tightness in his lower back, et cetera, et cetera. There's fear that he might or at least there was. I don't know what the status is as of today. I haven't been too in the loop, but at least there was at some point fear that he might miss the tournament. And so, how would that impact how we view Team USA if he missed the tournament? Would it move the needle for you at all? Or, he's a good player, but like you said, we've got great pitchers out there. So, how does that impact how we view it if he should, for some reason, miss the tournament?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a bummer if that happens. Like every little loss starts to add up. I'm gonna look up the taxi squad really quick, but they have a list of guys who are like on call, um, and so I want to see who's there. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but I'm curious to see who would come in to replace him on the roster if he has to leave. But um, there's still plenty of starting pitching on this team, and even with the 65 pitch limit, you could piggyback different starters. There's enough time in between games to do that. The relief, you don't want to like overwork any of these relievers. I know Matt and I both have stakes in that with Mason Miller and Garrett Whitlock, supposed to be big members of this team. So we'll see. I think they're going to be very careful with the pitching anyways, but yeah, if Joe Ryan's not, on this squad, it's definitely going to be different.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, right, like in my opinion, this is exactly why you have a Clayton Kershaw on the roster. Like, because he's got no more MLB pitches to give. You let him fill in any crack that happens because why not? Like, this is literally why you bring those types of guys into the WBC. And so my thing is, yeah, bummer, dude. Like, it sucks, but like I'm more worried about Joe Ryan for the season, if I'm being honest. Like, hopefully he's good, but as far as this goes, like, dude, next man up. And if the next man happens to be Clayton Kershaw, send him out there. I don't care. Like, it's fun.
Yeah,
Against 80% of the teams, he's gonna just mow through them. I mean, if you know what I mean, like if he's playing against some random citizen from Italy, from Great Britain, like he's gonna be toying with that.
yeah. I also, just to update, I did look up the reserves list. It's all relief pitchers. So, I mean, maybe they could add a couple of them to make up for one starter. I don't know how that works, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they can. I doubt they can get a starter on short notice when they're gearing up for their actual
Yeah.
seasons. So, uh, unless like, trying to think who retired recently. It's like Adam Wainwright wants to
Mhm.
stretch out the
Yeah.
old arm.
Yeah.
They
Come out of
could.
the booth, come out of the Fox booth and get back into it. Um, uh, well, when you said taxi squad, it just reminded me of the first season that we employed a taxi squad in our fantasy football league, and like how many texts I got in the group chat being like, "What is this? How do we use this?" You, you made me
Valid.
think about it, and no one ever knew. And so, congratulations to nobody for figuring it out. But anyway, yeah. So we'll see how it goes if Joe Ryan does miss. But I think that if you want my 2 cents, I think USA will be okay. It'll just be one of those things that's like, dang, we almost had it. We almost had it all. With the Scooble thing, and then if Joe Ryan misses, it's like, man, we were so close to everything that we dreamt of. But then things got in the way. But okay, so before we get into the discussion about the pool play round and kind of talking about which teams stand out to us and which teams we predict to move forward, um, let's go ahead and talk about some players. Okay, so keep it general, general for now. General hype is what we could call this. So, for the tournament as a whole, what players are you excited to see? Maybe non-USA categories, since we just talked a lot about how awesome we think Team USA is going to be. Think outside that box a little bit, but what players are you most excited to see take the stage here?
Well, I mean, I'm excited to see the stars, of course. I want to see, you know, I want not even mentioning Team USA. Dominican Republic has a star-studded roster. Uh, Puerto Rico, despite their issues, there's still some guys on that team. Venezuela should be really good. Mexico is going to be really good. Japan, of course. But there's like a ton of guys that like I'm excited to to see how they look in this tournament. Kind of like how we're talking about Clayton Kershaw. He's retired. He's no longer playing Major League Baseball, and here he is for Team USA. There's a number of guys that kind of fit this category for me that I want to highlight. Shout out James Paxton. He's on Team Canada's roster. He hasn't pitched since 2024 in Major League Baseball. You got Vance Worley pitching for Great Britain at 38 years old. He hasn't been in Major League Baseball since 2017.
Oh my God.
Um, you've got Didi Gregorius
Uh-huh.
playing for
Oh,
the Netherlands.
oh,
He hasn't played Major League Baseball since 2022.
oh my
And then my
gosh.
personal favorite, playing suiting up for Team Cuba, We haven't seen this guy in the big league since 2016. He's 44 years old. Alexei Ramirez.
Oh man,
It's just awesome, like
man,
these
some
guys. And
guys,
then
man.
also shout out Team Nicaragua. That's why I'm wearing this hat. It's my Naturals hat, but it kind of looks like their hat.
It
They're
does.
being managed by one of the greatest managers of all time, Dusty Baker. So
That's cool, man.
good for them. Let's see how far that takes them.
Yeah, man. I gotta be honest. The player I am most excited about, in all like honesty, I'm excited to see my guy Fernando Tatis. This is his first WBC, and like I'm just excited to see him on this stage. I'm excited, cop out. I know it's Team USA. I'm also excited to see Mason Miller throwing 104 against some of these teams. Like I just think that's going to be a funny visual watching, some dude from like Team Brazil trying to hit 104 painted on the corner. Um, yeah, I'm excited to watch my Padres guys. I know it's like typically seen as like, oh man, you don't necessarily want your guys up there, but I'm like, I just want to see it. Like it's fun. And the Dominican Republic team is so dumb. Like this is such a good team. I'm excited to see every single person on this team. Their entire lineup is going to be insane.
Yeah, the last time we saw Vlad Guerrero Jr., he was like, carrying a team through a postseason, to a
Hmm.
World Series and right on the doorstep of winning one. And now he's going to get a chance to play in here and, be surrounded by people he not only is very good friends with, but who are also very good players. And so I'm excited to see how he performs in that environment. But
I would love to see a
yeah,
pitch
man.
hit by Albert Pujols too, man. Like imagine him stepping up to the plate, coming out of the dugout.
Yeah. Yeah, he needs to put himself on the roster just so it's possible, just so it's possible to have it happen. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, remembering some guys, man, Didi Gregorius, man, that's wild.
Didi Gregorius was a deep pull.
They were searching for guys to put on that team. Um, but yeah, so I think those cover like the two things about the WBC that I like the most. Like you get to see all the some big stars, and then you get to be reminded about some people that who might still have a little something, but not maybe necessarily at MLB level. Okay, so let's talk about the teams that are going to be participating in this tournament. Let's go to our pool play discussion. So, here we are. We have four pools. They are conveniently A, B, C, and D. So we'll talk about Pool A first. So Pool A is Canada, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Panama, and Cuba. All right, so and just to remind everybody before we start, the top two teams from each of these pools are the ones that advance to the quarterfinals. So they all play each other, and then the two teams with the best records out after all that play, they will advance to the quarterfinal round. All right, so that's Canada, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Panama, Cuba. Who stands out here among this pool of honestly solid teams?
Yeah, this first pool, it's kind of an interesting mix of teams who like you certainly know like a handful of names, but none of them are like, these super teams that we're going to see in some other of these pools. Um, Canada stands out to me as the team that, you know, might be the strongest overall. Cuba
Canada.
is always a good squad, even though you might not recognize the names because it's a lot of guys who never defected or whatever.
Mhm.
And then Puerto Rico, they've had their struggles with this tournament and like getting their guys out there, but still, some major league talent on this squad. I think I'm gonna go with Canada and Cuba, and I think Puerto Rico is gonna be able to cry insurance, and it's gonna be totally valid to feel that way. But I just think their roster, without the top heavy, studs on that team, it's just not gonna hold up as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. Like I was looking through all these rosters right before we got into recording, and it's like you said, a lot of them I'm like, man, as a more casual baseball guy, I don't know much. Like I don't know many of these rosters. But I think looking through, if I had to pick two teams I thought were going to advance, I think Puerto Rico, like if they were able to get into the tournament, would. And so they're going to be one of my picks because I think if they could, they would. Um, but then the other team I'm going to pick, I like Colombia's roster low key. They've got a couple guys who are just like high vibes guys. I know them well. Jorge Alfaro, we got Donnie Barrels. Like we got some hitters on this team. We got some good guys. So I'm gonna go with them. I really don't recognize like a ton of dudes in this pool. So I like their odds.
All right. Drew, who did you say for your two again?
I said Cuba and Canada.
Cuba. That's the other one. Okay, cool. I'm taking it down so that we can, have the
Uh-oh.
field of our quarterfinals at the end of the
Mm.
episode.
Report
Okay,
us to freezing
so
hot
cool.
takes.
Yeah, I can report you. So I can make sure to text you guys when when Cuba wins no games in their pool, or whatever. But all right, so yeah, I mean, Pool A, you're gonna have some fun teams. I'm looking forward to seeing what Puerto Rico does with the hair this time around. They always got something up their sleeve with how they unify as a team and how they present. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they got going on. That's for me. But all right, so let's talk about next Pool B. All right, so this is another pool with a couple of heavy hitters. We have Mexico in this pool. We've got USA in this pool, and then also Great Britain, Italy, and Brazil. So Brazil among the maybe a surprise qualifier this time around, but they are find themselves in Pool B with us. So who stands out in this pool? There's an obvious standout, but who else besides USA pops out to you here?
Yeah, well, yeah, like you said, USA stands out. I think they're definitely like, you know, can't take anything for granted, but I would consider them a lock to move on. And so then it comes down to the second spot. And shout out Great Britain, shout out Brazil. Congrats for getting to play. That's fun. It's going to be either Italy or Mexico. And I do think it's going to be ultimately Team Mexico. Italy does have a solid roster. You got Aaron Nola out there. You got Michael Lorenzen. These are like, major league pitchers. Dallas's guy, Sam Aldagari. Um,
Yeah,
and then on the hitting side, it's even more impressive. Kyle Teal is your catcher. You've got Vinny P. You've got Jacob Marcy. You've got Jack Caglianone. Um, and look, it's a solid squad. It's going to be vibes. It's going to be fun. But Mexico was the 2023 vibes team. Uh, they came oh so close to beating Japan in the semifinal. That one was such a memorable game. It was like a great comeback by Japan. So they really had them on the ropes. It came down to relief pitching. I think they're going to be able to roll in this first round because they're a vibes team and they have a really solid team. I mean, they have a major league outfield out there. They've got Randy Rosarena, Alec Thomas, and then Jaron Duran is going to be playing right, which is interesting. But yeah, I expect they'll be able to hold their own in this first pool, and I think head to head they can beat Italy.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously Team USA is the favorite, and I think Team USA is going to make it out of the pool. Like, I would be shocked if they somehow fell in this round. But th they're clearly one of the teams. But I had Mexico picked, and I based that purely off the fact that I knew they had a lot of success in last year or last WBC. But I'm looking at this roster. I'm underwhelmed by this. Like, you're not going to convince me that a team that might be starting Rowdy Tellez is going to be a good, potential powerhouse of a team. So I am going to pick Italy. I think that the pitching staff low-key could be better, at least from the starting end. And I think the lineup is a lot more potent. or at least has the potential to be a lot more potent. Like their lineup is good. So I'm gonna go with Italy. I really like the lineup that they've got on that roster. And I'm looking at this roster for Mexico, and to be honest, I'm just a little underwhelmed. I thought that I would see some other guys. Like it did feel like they were a vibes team, and I remember Randy Rosarena also had like that crazy run. I don't know, man. We'll see if he does it again, but I'm underwhelmed by this roster.
Yeah, I can't believe we talked about the AL East in our preview episode, division preview episode last week, but and I can't believe we talked about the Red Sox and I didn't mention the fact that Patrick Sandoval is going to be coming back for some kind of role with them this year. But he was, that guy on Team Mexico last WBC, right? And so, shout out to him. He, couldn't make the roster this year, for obvious reasons. But, he was awesome in that tournament the last time around. And I think Mexico could be looking for that guy again. Looking to see who's going to be, that guy in the rotation, that guy in the pitching from the pitching perspective of, who can carry them. And so I'm excited to see who that might be. And when it comes to the other teams in this pool, I think that, yeah, I think Italy might be, you think about Michael Lorenzen up there and everything. It's going to be, really, really fun to watch. Them go after it because I think for this pool, Italy, I think is, could think of themselves as an underdog here. And I think that could motivate some of these guys who have also kind of been underdogs a little bit in their careers, to kind of go ahead and get some motivation to put one over on one of these powerhouses. So, you never know in this tournament. Well, sometimes but you never know with something like this when it's Game 7 every day, what could happen, and so, well, Game 7 every day from this round forward, you play you play several games in the pool round, but yeah, so Pool B. All right, so with Pool B, we've got our teams that we have coming out here. Cool. So let's go to Pool C now. Pool C is Chinese Taipei, Czechia, Japan, Australia, and Korea. So, this is kind of kind of a fun group of teams that it's kind of like, okay, here's Japan and friends, kind of a thing. But, Korea's in there too. They have, they stand on their own as well. So who stands out in this pool for you?
Yeah, this is the pool I know the least about in terms of their rosters. Even Japan, like you know the stars, but I don't follow the Japanese baseball league, so like a lot of these names I'm not familiar with. Um, just based on what I hear people say and everything, I mean Japan's obviously a powerhouse. We've seen them in the past. They're like the combination power of friendship and also really really good at baseball team. Um, so they're definitely to be reckoned with. I think they'll make it out. And I think Korea is going to be the other team. They should be. I think what happened last time, if I remember right, is they got knocked out in this round, and it was like a huge upset.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Shout out Czech Republic, everyone's favorite, squad of teachers and mechanics and what have you. Um, but obviously they're not going anywhere. Australia, they have a professional league over there. I don't think it's anything, compared to these Asian leagues like in Korea and Japan. And then Chinese Taipei, a couple guys who have played in the bigs, but I think Korea ultimately, with all their guys playing in the KBO, has the best shot of these other four teams besides Japan.
Yeah, dude, I gotta agree with you. I'm looking at these rosters, and you gotta ask why Chinese Taipei, half of their players, it looks like they sent in corporate headshots. Like they don't even have like photos of their dudes in like baseball attire. Like these are just guys in like regular clothes, no hats on. Like it, it's one of those things. I don't watch, you know, any of like the Asian baseball leagues. I'm pretty limited to American baseball and the MLB as what I watch, season in and season out. But like Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be Japan. It's gotta be Korea. Some of these other teams, man, this is where you get those like really funny Twitter, bits and like videos of like Shohei pumping in 101 against some dude, and they're like, yeah, just a couple weeks ago, this guy actually got a recent promotion to be store manager at the local, hardware store, and you're like, good, like great, really, really happy for him, man, and he gets a chance to try what all of us, I think, have at least at one point dreamed of trying, which is could we hit a ball that's being pitched 101 from Shohei? Like it'll be fun, but no, dude. Korea seems like the only team that's got like a legitimate roster, and I'm happy to be surprised by another team. If another team can come out there and make some noise, I'm all for it. But Korea is the only team I'm looking at where I'm like, yeah, these guys can compete with the best of them.
Yeah, and what stands out to me about this pool is that last time around, this watching Japan was, it was kind of like watching like MLB the future. Like there were so many guys on that Japan team in the 2023 tournament that weren't in MLB yet and are now and have won some World Series and have competed for been Cy Young candidates and all that good stuff. Like, and so I'm excited to see if there's anybody who pops this time around. Like, who do we see in this WBC from Japan who is, the guy who we hear about in, 2 or 3 more years coming over. So I'm excited to see what Japan has on that roster for in that respect. But when Australia comes out of nowhere and really puts it on them, don't say don't say we didn't warn you. All right, so Pool D. Now this is a very exciting pool of teams here. We have Netherlands here. We have Venezuela, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, and Israel. So we have those teams in this pool. So who are the standouts here? Who stands out and who's going forward here?
This is a fun pool. This is similar to, I think, the pool that the United States are playing in, where every team has at minimum a couple guys that you're like, oh, cool, like they're playing. That's awesome. And so the powerhouse here, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, is the Dominican Republic. They have good players at every position, like major league level players, most of them above average to superstar range. Um, I don't even know, like, it's similar to Team USA, like who's going to actually be in the starting lineup. They could mix and match a number of different ways, and I'm sure we'll see different versions, and you can't go wrong. Like, you've got Manny Machado and Junior Caminero. They're both third basemen. One could DH, I guess, but we're not going to see both of them every game. You've got Jeremy Pena and Geraldo Perdomo, two really good shortstops. You're not going to see both of them every game. Uh, you've got Julio, you've got Fernando, you've got Juan Soto, and then the pitching staff I think took a step forward for the Dominican this year compared to
Yeah.
years past. Sandy Alcantara, who has a Cy Young. You got Luis Severino. You've got Brian Bayo, Carlos Estevez in the bullpen, Camilo Doval in the bullpen. Like, oh, you got Christopher Sanchez. Almost
Yeah, I
forgot
was
their
about to say
first
Christopher
base pitcher.
Sanchez, brother.
Um, so like they are really stacked up to definitely be one of the favorites in the whole tournament, and especially in this pool. And then the second team like that I would pick would be Venezuela. They are in a similar tier to maybe like slightly below the Dominican and USA and Japan in terms of roster, but really probably the next best team, I would say, in terms of major league talent. You've got Ronald Acuna Jr. on this team. You've got Jackson Churio on this team. You've got William Contreras. You have both Contreras brothers. And it's going to come down to pitching for them. You've got Ranger Suarez, who obviously is a beast. But beyond that, I think your next best starting pitcher is Eduardo Rodriguez, who hasn't really been solid in a while. So we'll see how that holds up. But they just have so many hitters on this team that I think they'll be able to muscle their way into the next round.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Like DR is once again just a clear favorite. Like I think everyone expects them to not just win this, but to potentially be one of two final teams. They are the powerhouse team, if not one of two or three powerhouse teams. Um, I'm going with the Netherlands for my pick. I'm looking at that roster. I don't see a ton in the pitching department, so they'll have to overcome that. But what do they have is apparently not just one Profar, but two Profars. I don't know anything about this brother Profar, but I love Jurickson Profar. They've got Xander Bogaerts, they've got Ozzy Albies. Like they've got themselves a fun little roster here. They've got Cedane Rafaela, who obviously is super good in the outfield. Um, and I mean, say what you want, but hasn't Drew Jones been like a top prospect for like years and years and years? And like, if you're gonna
Sure,
break
yeah.
out somewhere, why not WBC? Like, you're
And his
just a
dad,
huge. His
yeah,
dad's the
his
manager, right?
yeah, and recent Hall of Fame inductee.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Netherlands is a fun team. I always root for them. Xander Bogaerts, one of my favorite players. What's funny about them is like they felt like they've had this like, oh, that's kind of exciting like roster. But it's like the same roster for like the last three tournaments. Like Kenley Jansen is on that team. Xander's been on
Mhm.
that team. Didi's been on that team. Jurickson Profar has been on that team. Um, Even Ozzy Albies. So like you do have some new faces. Cedane Rafaela is new. Drew Jones is new. But as a whole, like these are the same Netherlands guys we've seen for a while. And until we get some like some fresh reinforcements, I don't really expect them to go too far. But they are a fun team
Hey,
for sure.
but Jurickson Profar also wasn't even good until like 2 or 3 years ago. So, brand new team already.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an ad for sure. Is the good version of him is an ad for sure. Okay, so there we go. That's all the pools, that we're gonna have in the tournament there. So to recap, kind of what we decided on here. For the quarterfinal round, Drew has Canada, Cuba, USA, Mexico, Japan, Korea, Dominican Republic, and Venezuela appearing in the quarterfinal round. And
Canada.
Matt has Puerto Rico, Colombia, USA, Italy, Japan, Korea, Dominican Republic, and Netherlands appearing in the quarterfinal round. So we'll see who got the closest when we talk about the quarterfinal round on our show in a couple weeks. So that field will be set in real life, I think, by about the 11th or so of March, and then games will start. And so we'll talk about who made it and who got closest, and then we'll predict the quarterfinals through the championship round because from there it happens fast. So from there the tournament finishes quickly. So um, yeah, so that's when we'll talk about WBC predictions next. We'll talk about all the any action that's gone down in the first couple of days of the tournament on next week's show. But the meat of it will be in a couple of weeks. But for today's show, that will do it. For our MLB episode of Dingers and Stingers. Not really MLB related so much today, but WBC related. But next week, we are back with our division previews. So be sure to stay tuned to see which division we are covering next week. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, go back and check out our NL East and AL East division preview episodes as well. Those will be available free to watch all spring training. So, catch up on our predictions and what we think will go down in these divisions all spring training long. And you can listen to the show on Spotify if you prefer audio only. You can follow us here on YouTube by subscribing. It's not called following on YouTube. In fact, it never has been. It's always been subscribing. So subscribe here if you want to know when our next episodes are going to drop. You can like the video, share it around, follow us on socials like TikTok and Instagram, and let us know in the comments what you think about WBC, who you're rooting for, who you're excited to see, and who you think makes it to the quarterfinal round. We'd love to hear from you. Until our next time that we, speak to you through this very interesting medium. Take care, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.